Okay, this is our monopoly presentation. So what is a monopoly?
Welcome to the Investors Trading Academy talking glossary of financial terms and events. Our word of the day is monopoly. A monopoly situation is when a single company or group owns all or nearly all of a market for a given type of product or service. By definition, monopoly is characterized by an absence of competition, which often results in higher prices and inferior products. According to a strict academic definition, a monopoly is a market containing a single firm. In such instances where a single firm holds monopoly power, the company will typically be forced to divest its assets. Anti-monopoly regulation protects free markets from being dominated by a single entity. A pure monopoly is a single supplier in a market. For the purposes of regulation, monopoly power exists when a single firm controls 25% or more of a particular market. Governments may grant a firm monopoly status, such as with the Post Office, which was given monopoly status by Oliver Cromwell in 1654. The Royal Mail Group finally lost its monopoly status in 2006 when the market was opened up to competition. A monopoly could be created following the merger of two or more firms. Given that this will reduce the competition, such mergers are subject to close regulation and may be prevented if the two firms gain a combined market share of 25% or more. For example, if you want to buy a new automobile, and there's only one brand from which you can purchase your car, that brand will be considered to hold a monopoly. Monopolies are harmful because they allow one entity to set the price on goods without consideration for competitive, affordable pricing. This is because when there's a monopoly, there are no competitors. This leaves customers at the mercy of the monopolist. In the late 1990s, Microsoft faced several suits due to perceived violations of these antitrust laws. Had the Justice Department proved the company was in violation, Microsoft would have been forced to divide itself into subsidiaries in order to break up the potential monopoly. This is happening with Google in Europe at the present, and the most well-known case was in the US when the government forced the telephone companies to break into several regional businesses called Baby Bell.
Okay, so that was the video on what is a monopoly. Now, here's some key characteristics of a monopoly. The main key characteristic of a monopoly is how one company owns the entire market, meaning resulting in very few pure monopolies in the United States and other countries. Some other characteristics are the plethora of barriers to entry, making it very hard for new businesses to enter the monopoly market. Also, another characteristic is how the product is either unique with no close substitutes, or there's no way to enter the market, and also that monopolies are a price taker, or price maker, not a price taker. As for the barriers to entry, this is how a monopoly's power is maintained, such as predatory pricing, which is setting the price low, limiting the pricing just below competitors. Another barrier to entry would be high cost for new entrants to set up, existing firms, advertisements forcing new firms to spend money to compete against them, new firms having to win the market share and gain loyalty from existing monopolies, exclusive contracts between suppliers and existing firms, vertical integration, which leaves fewer locations for new firms, also early firms tying up resources from new entrants to the business, and also falling costs of production that result in existing firms having a cost advantage over others. As for the differences from other types of market structures, well, perfect competition is different since it is easy to get into compared to the monopoly, which is very hard to get into. And as for no real in perfect competition, there's no real competition. Also, oligopolies have limited competition, while monopolies don't leave any chance for competition. And also another difference would be how substitutes are products that exist but are not the real deal, compared to the original monopoly. Some real-world examples consist of De Beers, which became a monopoly from purchasing diamond mines, as many as possible, creating a big monopoly over mines in South Africa. Another example would be an East India Company, which became a monopoly from the king and parliament, authorizing interlopers to enter the company's market and force company to make loans to retain its monopoly. A third one is Carnegie Steel in our local city, Pittsburgh, which became a monopoly from buying up its sources of raw materials and shipping, and bought out and absorbed its competitors to dominate the steel industry. Another one could be Standard Oil, which eliminated competitors and merged with other firms, controlled the refining of 90 to 95% of all oil produced in the United States, making a very big monopoly. Another last example could be the Salt Industry Commission, which became a monopoly due to them selling salts to private merchants at a price that included a low but substantial tax, which was passed on by the merchants at the point of sale. Here's our monopoly graph, which determines price and quantity. As you can see, it locates the max profit over the price and quantity, using the supply and demand. Here are our citations, and that is the end of our presentation. Thank you.